Hello everyone, welcome back to this epic castle build. In the last one we built up the plan for it, starting just from a facade of a mountain, and then building up with these very vibrant colors, and filling out this cool space. But now we're going to be building the exterior. So let's get started and have some fun building. For this castle build, I want to take things a little slower today, and just focus on my creative process while building this castle, and touch on a few other things, which I'll get to later. But for now, you guys are seeing me build up the first tower, and this was sort of establishing the style for the castle. And I made a brief color palette, which I'll show right now, and basically that was just my way of kind of signifying what I want to do with the castles color-wise and gradients and things like that. Now getting into the build here, what I decided doing for the roofs is actually creating this sort of layered effect, which I think really works for castle builds, is having many different layers inside the roofs. Because if you just have one big roof, it can look cool, but I think breaking up the roof into a bunch of smaller sections, smaller walls, you can actually add a lot of texture variation, and that's exactly what I did for a lot of these roofs actually on this castle. Just kind of breaking it up into smaller pieces in a way. And not only in the roofs, I do it on the towers there, you can see, and basically just breaking it up. And by adding a line with those jungle planks there, it actually works as a barrier to then be able to add different windows, to add different colors and textures. And yeah, I'm kind of repeating myself, but I just want to explain that to you because I think that was a big point in this castle. And another signature of this castle is adding these very fancy looking roof bits, which I think kind of just adds to the fantasy flair of the castle and brings a whole new level of interest to the peaks and the spiky parts of the castle. And now I'm going to briefly step away from the techniques I'm using to build this castle and talk about how to actually start building a castle of this size. I mean, it is overwhelming to look at these massive shapes and know what to do, right? Yes, it is, and I don't blame anyone. I've built for so long that I kind of just know what to do, in a way. I kind of know what looks right, I know how it goes, and building is something that's very hard to acquire. And that's partly due to YouTubers not really doing much explaining anymore, and I'm not really here to shed any bad light, so I'm just going to focus on what tips I like to use to really get started with these big crazy things. And absolutely, once you have the shape, you have the idea in your head, it's really about choosing colors now. And there's plenty of videos explaining color theory, I can't really get into it, but basically, you just want to make the colors look right together. Wow, oh Ash, that's an easy task, yes. Thanks for that tip, okay. No, of course I'm not going to leave you with that, but think about it like this. Colors you want to stand out, they're going to be bright, or they're going to contrast a lot, so it doesn't actually have to be bright. Say you have like a really white background, like this one, we have snow, then dark things are going to stand out. So think about the backdrop, right? And then figure out what colors you want to stand out. And then choose the other colors that you just sort of want to blend in. So for this, because we got these gray mountains, I chose gray walls. Gray walls will just kind of blend in and be there to add depth. And just stepping quickly away from the color stuff, we're not even going to talk about the castle per se. I'm going to say something a little weird. Why are you building the build you're building? Well, that sounded a lot more complicated when I say it, but when you're building something, you gotta have a purpose for doing it. Eventually people will just get burnt out on what they're doing just because they're not finding the process fun anymore. And some of the things I like to do when building is I like to bring purpose into it, make it a farm. Sometimes adding a storyline to it really helps you just feel more into the build. Every little detail, every little story you add into your build will always help this feeling of immersion. And in case you're like, Ash, what the heck, I don't know how to make my build immersive, I'm going to talk all about it in the next episode, adding lore and things to a build and immersion and everything, details. I'm going to talk all about it in the next episode. So stay tuned, subscribe, and yeah, we'll get to that. But going back to the build, you can see these little reinforced bits on the corners of that tower. And basically, that is just a way to break up the flat face of the wall, or at least make it seem like it's a little more complex than it is. And also it makes the castle feel more defensible. you'd be surprised that a flat wall can look really good. You don't actually always need to fill something up with crazy patterns and shapes and depth and things to make it look really good. A flat wall can be transformed as long as you use gradients. Windows are really great. You can see I added 2 at the top of that flat face, and it actually made it look really cool. But a big concept I want to bring to you, when you're looking at a flat face and you just don't know what to put there, I guarantee you should add another shape that sort of supports the overall feel of the castle. On top of that guard post tower thing, you can see I added 2 more little towers on the corners of it. It actually served really well just to contribute to the overall style of the castle and make it look really cool, break up that rigid corner of the guard post thing. Swiftly moving down below, I decided I wanted to terraform this little patch of land here, and I planned for this, but that's why we're going to have a waterfall, right? And there's a really cool story I want to explain to you guys about that waterfall. But once again, I'm saving that for the next episode, where I'm going to talk about story and immersion. So for now, I just used some really simple blocks, podzol, coarse dirt, and snow, and then I used clay to make it sort of look like dirtied snow, which I think worked out really well. Coming to this front tower, I wanted it to sort of just blend in and be there. Not really standing out too much, but also looking really awesome. And the reason for that is because I want the stuff in the back to stand out even more, because that gives it sort of an epic effect. The further back you want to look, like, the less the foreground becomes apparent, and I don't know, I guess it just makes your eyes want to look further. Now just behind that tower, you could see there was a very big flat stone face, so I pulled out my handy book of, I don't actually have one of those, of what I do when there's a flat face, and I could have added a tower. You know, I always have the like reinforced bits on the corners, but I chose to do the roof layering, the little rings that kind of help it give that depth. And it kind of worked out because that is the feast hall or the banquet hall wherever they invite guests and things. And so I kind of wanted that to have a room all the way up at the top, perhaps where guests could stay after they have their night of feasting. Also maybe where guards could be patrolling the area. It's a pretty high point. At least that was my initial idea in my head, and I think it came to fruition pretty well. And this little building here, it's kind of just useless. It's sort of just a little jut out to make the composition look better. And similarly with this big red face, it was originally going to just be cliffs and things, kind of merging in with the castle, but I kind of like this better, particularly because it was easier, and and also because it served to make the castle feel a lot more expensive and defensible and large. And this is what our castle was looking like so far. In the fog, it looks absolutely amazing. There were just a few more little pieces I had to finish up, and then obviously detailing and adding a little more atmosphere. I started finishing this little tower here, which I kind of like that we have those little supporting beams on that tower instead of just making it a big cylinder that pops out of the ground. And then moving over to the keep, I made this top section wooden because I figured it would be like where the royal family has kind of done their living and their family stuff. It's kind of where they're just chilling, so it would be nice and cozy. And finally, to what I believe is sort of the attraction of the structures, which is the bridge, so I used darker colors, but also sticking to our color palette. And I think it does well at drawing people's attention in. And check out this aerial view. I think it looks so awesome. And now with the purple wool gone, added with our little path texture, and I'm going to even further enhance that in the next episode. This castle is looking super cool, and it's not even done. There on the right side, I finished up a little more terraforming just to blend it in with the snow on the right a little better. But now we have those lime wool pillars still standing tall. And just out of scene, I made a few little trees, and these I would paste around just because I don't have time to really build each and every custom tree. It takes a lot of time, especially when I had about 30 or more trees there on the landscape, so I just made these 3 little designs and then continued to paste them around. And because these trees are very big and pointy, they serve kind of as like defensibility things. It makes the castle look a lot more intimidating, and not only that, It makes the castle feel a lot more into the Minecraft world. It's not just popped there onto this mountain. Alright guys, and there it is, the castle. Hope you enjoyed that little cinematic showcase. I think it turned out pretty cool. This castle, in general, turned out pretty darn huge, massive, and awesome. I'm just really happy with it. So I hope you guys have felt the same feeling, or maybe got inspired from me building this. And I built up our block palette and expanded on it to actually fill in the blocks that we didn't cover. So yeah, it actually, you can kind of see how it like transitions from that white, that orange. It's kind of cool. Anyway, let me give you a little tour of everything, because there's a few little intricate details that maybe I didn't cover in the time lapse. Like this kind of thing with the acacia wood. It's sort of, you put it at the underside of the windows and it almost looks like this, I don't even know, like dripping thing, like something was thrown out this window and it just kind of slid down. I don't even know, but I've seen it in a lot of things and it just looks really cool. And you know what? Glow vines, I really liked doing this. Just kind of add them in like that. It sort of transitions it. Yeah. But anyway, there's not too much else to show for this. You can kind of see like the windows here. I tried to use like different stained glasses, make them just feel a little more textured and detailed. Just like wooden bits. You can see how I kind of indent it. Another cool thing. But I don't think this build is fully 100% super amazing yet, because we haven't gone into the immersion part of it and just making your build feel worthwhile to walk through. Like right now, I come down here. Yeah, it's a cool build. It's amazing, but I don't feel it has reached its full potential. Oh my gosh. Of course it hasn't. Look at this. I don't know what I'm really trying to say, but you don't feel fully immersed into this world yet. And we're going to talk all about that in the next episode, so stay tuned. Subscribe, like the video, make sure it'll actually show up in your feeds in the next one, because that's kind of what, that's why you subscribe. So you see more videos from people you like. Anyway, at this point, the castle, it's just a castle. Now, we're going to transform it into more than a castle, a story, something deep, something interesting, that can really captivate the viewer. That's what I want to do, and I'm going to teach you in the next episode. So, all that said, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.